Wow, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
This is going to have some payback. Have some payback. I can't believe it. Wow. I just finished watching Top Gun. Excuse that. I have tried to burn that thing, hide that thing. I just can't get rid of it. So, it's the clothes. I would have promised you I wasn't going to cry, and then my Aunt Belle happened to bring a picture of a boa, so, right to the heart there. So, we'll get to that. First things first, there's so many people to thank. I having been a project officer myself for one of these, multiple of these retirements, I thought, I don't want to burden anybody, so I can do it, and I quickly learned that there was just more to it than I thought. So thank God for people like Hannah Bellinger and Stormy Matulinon and Kayla and Jana, and, all the folks, all the people here, volunteers. They're getting paid. They have other jobs besides color guard and putting on retirements. COXO, CMC for your time today. Thank you so much. Chaplain, thank you so much. Color guard, flag detail, the flag details to come, but thank you guys so much for what you guys have done today. Patrick Glazier, thank you for being sound. Andrew Wilson, where's he at? Yeah, Andrew Wilson, it's his last day today too, so thank you so much for being here. Thank you. MWR staff, all the volunteers, especially the MWR staff, so they get pulled in a lot of different directions, so thank you guys very, very much. I stand before you absolutely humbled and in awe that so many have considered my retirement worthy of your time. It is not lost upon me that many of you have literally traveled thousands of miles at your own expense to be here, and I could not be more thankful. I'm going to get some shout outs. Where's my Rhode Island family at? Woo! How about the Tennesseans? Tennessee. Arizona. Hawaii. Cali. Missouri. Hey. To my mom and my dad that couldn't be here in his past, but thank you so much for everything. I mean, you guys have just bent over backwards. Very few people know some of the struggles that we went through, so thank you so much. We have a saying in the Coast Guard that if you're lucky, you get to marry above your pay grade, and my God, let me tell you, I got lucky. I'm married well above my pay grade. I love you, Jana. Thank you so much. As a bonus, Cooper, I absolutely love the man you are and the man you're going to become. I always tell you all the time, you are good for something. I love you. I love you. And a bonus of nieces and Tina and Ryan and Monica and Charlotte, Henry, and Robin couldn't be here today, but thank you guys just for everything, just for always being there. Thank you. I struggled what to say. I went through several different iterations. Really, I mean, come on, how do you start to capture 25 years of memories? And first I thought, I'll do what every good officer does. I'm going to create a PowerPoint, and I'll brief it. I'll put up a screen, and I'll just brief my retirement. I'll have pictures and stuff. That was lame, so I was like, cross that, got rid of that. Halfway into the PowerPoint, threw it away. A couple days later, I'm listening to some music, and I was like, this is cool, I got it. I'm just going to pull some lyrics out of my favorite songs. Nobody will know. A couple hours later, went a little bit something like this. Thank you so much for coming. I have dreamed of this day for so long. I can't wait to have my toes in the water, my ass in the sand, not a worry in the world, a cold beer in my hand. That was lame, threw that away. At the end of the day, what I recognized was really it's about the moments and the people and how it impacted your life. So, boot camp. The year was 19, it doesn't really matter, but it was a couple years back. Everyone freaking out, people yelling, push-ups. Oh my God, the running and push-ups. Jen, I actually used to love to run, but boot camp before this. But boot camp was where I learned how some rope and some hope can change oil and water into peanut butter and jelly. There were two people in my boot camp class that you can tell right away did not get along. I don't recall their names, so I've always just referred to them as oil and water. They didn't mix at all. Week 1 of boot camp, dirty looks, snide comments. Week 2, scuffles, a little bit of pushing. Nothing that the other company commanders saw, but us recruits saw. Week 3, boom, straight up fist fight, knockout, drag out fight right in the middle of the hallway. Company commander drags him into his office, slams the door, and that was it. We knew that they were done for. Time passed. Here comes oil and water out of the company commander's office looking defeated, walking up to us with their wrists connected by a 3-foot piece of rope. The company commander explained that he gave the two a choice: get kicked out of boot camp or figure out how to get along. They obviously chose getting along, but the company commander did the unthinkable. He connected them by the wrist with 3 feet of rope and told us that they could never take it off without their permission, ever. If you ever caught them without that rope tied to their wrists, they were out. So what followed were some of the most hilarious and funniest memories of boot camp that I'll ever have. If you can think about it, through living with somebody connected to your wrist, they had to place their bunks together to sleep. They had to eat together. Yes, they had to shower together. And I swear to you, I know, I see it vividly. Walking into the bathroom one morning, and one of the poor guys is half asleep, and from his wrist is the rope going underneath the stall up into his wrist. So, by the time the company commander let them untie that rope, oil and water had turned to peanut butter and jelly. PB&J were inseparable. Best of friends for the rest of boot camp, and are still friends to this day. The method was harsh, kind of medieval, and not allowed today. But I'll never forget watching two enemies become friends, and that lesson has always stuck with me. When I was forced to work with difficult people or someone that I didn't see eye to eye with, I knew I also had a choice to either give up or find a way to make it work out. And just like PB&J, I found some of my closest friends along the way. There are so many stories, so many hurricanes and storms and Katrina and hoisting to boats and weather I wouldn't even want to drive in, Deepwater Horizon. Captain mentioned it, and it kind of brought me back, but when I joined, there was a saying that was drilled into your head. You have to go out, you don't have to come back. That's a reference to search and rescue missions that basically meant no matter how bad the conditions are, you're expected to go out because that's our job. Whether or not you come back depends on how well you did your job. First duty station, Jonesport, Maine, like the captain mentioned, we get a call that someone thinks they see a bobbing light off the coast. We go out, we find a man in freezing Maine waters, clinging to his capsized boat. Mike Rudin and I were the deckhands, and when our boat got close, Mike reaches down. He had a little bit of help, but the way he was situated, he had more of the area of the guy. He reaches down and pretty much just does the brunt of the pulling and pulls this hypothermic fisherman into the 44-foot motor lifeboat. The fisherman was severely hypothermic, and before anyone could make the next move, Mike Reardon reaches down and scoops up the dead weight of that hypothermic fisherman and carries him, in rough seas, mind you, to the rear of the 44-foot motor lifeboat. The back of the 44 had a compartment we called the turtle back because it was shaped like a turtle's back. Inside the turtleback compartment, Mike and I worked to tear off the fisherman's soaked clothes. And I remember to this day how damn cold my hands were. I couldn't even feel my hands. The water was so cold just from removing his clothes. After we got the hypothermic fisherman undressed, Mike and I then stripped down to our underwear, and we just each took a side and wrapped him in our own body warmth. The 44-foot motor lifeboat, if any of you know, when it's pushed to its max, it doesn't go fast. But we pushed it to the max to try to get back to the station as quickly as possible. Ambulances and paramedics were waiting, and as the guy was rushed off, Mike and I, shell-shocked, freezing, we just looked at each other sitting there in our underwear, and we started barrel laughing. What do you do? We saved that fisherman's life, and some weeks later he came to the station with his family to thank us, and I'll never forget that. My shipmate that day, Mike Reardon, dreamed of being a helicopter rescue swimmer. To this day, I have no idea how he picked up that fisherman like that, but it cost him. He did something to his back that night, and after being selected to helicopter rescue swimmer school, he continued to have back issues until he eventually had to be discharged from the Coast Guard. That day, I learned that even if we have to go out and we're lucky enough to come back, we don't always come back whole. The next few years were a blur. Move after move, training, officer candidate school, flight training. I know Captain mentioned that when I received orders to Mobile, I fought not to go, but I'm here to tell you that was a huge understatement. I called in every favor. I called anyone that would listen. After a tour in Savannah and Corpus, I just wanted out of the South, and I knew Mobile was going to be hell. Finally, all the favors cashed in and all the calls made, I was told, deal with it. They're called orders for a reason. So disgruntled, frustrated, I show up in Mobile, Alabama. Orders in one hand, preconceived notions of how exactly that tour is going to go in the other. Mobile, Alabama is home of the Coast Guard's Aviation Training Center. It's the birthplace of my lifelong friendship to Rodney and Steve. My family and I went to Mobile convinced it was a curse and left knowing it was a blessing. I can't go too deep into some of the Mobile, Alabama stories. Rodney, Steve, and I have what's called the Vault. The Vault consists of some crazy stories, and that's exactly what we're going to stay as the Vault. I left Mobile, Alabama, adopted into the beautiful Baxter and Rios family. Mobile, Alabama taught me that a place you expect to hate can be turned into a place you will love forever. It also taught me that it's not the place or the job, it's the people. Being the personnel support department head for 4 years, it wore on me. It was people like Ivan, United States Marine Corps, Tyre, where you at? Yeah, hoorah! And his wonderful team over there. Melissa, Daniel, the whole folks over at CDC, Lori, K2, K1, Desiree, Chief Causing, Chief Osman, Master Chief Mineta, Chief Warrant Officer Cordova, and my base Alameda wardroom that made coming to work so enjoyable. Sitting with Stormy, talking about everything and nothing as she worked to keep my head on straight. Thank you. And of course, XO and CO and CMC for being natural leaders. We worked through so many tough and unique problems, but we always did it together by throwing out ideas, laughing afterwards at some of the sheer bizarre things we were dealt with, like dashboard cam videos and neighbor disputes, no internet Novato, gophers, back guano, base breaches, the list goes on and on. It's here I have to pause real quick and give a shout out to my mom and her sisters. My aunts, Mary, Belle, Julie, Teresa. They're all here except Mary couldn't make it. You guys all thought of me, or you all acted like you were my mom at some point in my life. And I don't know how you did it on Tony. But I'm going to tell you, the end result was that I grew up being raised by strong female leaders. COXO, I can say with the authority of being raised by 5 strong females that you two share these same traits, and it was an absolute honor to watch the two of you. To end, I want to draw your attention to one last story. It's certainly not the last story, and I think I could fill a book with some of the cool and sad search and rescue cases that are best served over a cold beer. Steve, you're going to roll your eyes because you've heard this one, but I'm going to rewind a little bit on my timeline. When I first started talking to you today, I explained how humbled and appreciative I was that you were here today. And I can't help but think back to my fellow pilot friend, Jay Manthorn. I met Jay Manthorn at my first Air Station Savannah. Jay was already an old-timer, highly decorated and respected helicopter pilot, and to this day remains one of the best sticks I've ever flown with. Good. Good. Meant to be. Put that thing in the water. But man, I got to Savannah. I was cocky. I was arrogant. I wanted to be the best. I just wanted to be the best. But it was Jay Manthorn's Georgia tarmac slap that stuck with me and went on to influence future decisions and ultimately led me back home to Alameda. To say I wanted to be the best would be putting it mildly. I worked feverishly. I watched what cars showed up first thing in the morning. I watched which ones were the last to leave. I pushed myself to beat them in and be the last one to depart. I gripped every task and every order with white knuckles, and I valued knowledge of the aircraft over knowledge of my coworkers. Words like work-life balance or friends were not in my vernacular. The day of the story was a check ride for me, and think of that as kind of like a final exam in the air. During the pre-flight brief, Jay Manthorn threw every question in the book at me. I was proud, I was confident, and I rattled off answers verbatim out of the flight manual. As I expected, the brief was easy breezy, lemon squeezy. Now it was time to kick the tires and light the fires and go fly. Jay and I reviewed the aircraft maintenance records, and Jay, as the aircraft commander, signed for the helicopter. The helicopter was parked out on the tarmac, so Jay and I walked across the hangar deck. I remember the heat that day hitting me. It was hot. It was a hot Georgia day, and even hotter on the tarmac. We're almost to the helicopter, and Jay just stops mid-stride, and he turns and looks at me and says, "I've been meaning to ask you something." "Roger, sir, fire away." "Define success." "Huh?" He said, "Define success." And he was serious. Made something up. It completely, it's like setting a goal, and you kind of make your goal, and it's great. And I was, aware that he was not pleased with my answer. What he said next stuck with me forever. He said, "Jeff, there isn't a person at this air station that doesn't see that you basically live here. If you're not studying, you're volunteering for duty, yet you're never at any of the parties you're invited to. You're never at any of the cookouts that we have here at the station. All you do is work, and you're acting like you don't care about anybody else here. One day, if you decide to stay in, before you know it, you will be at your retirement ceremony. You keep doing what you're doing the way you do it, you're going to look out at the audience, and your front row will be empty. No family, no friends, no loved ones. Success is filling your front row, because when you walk off that stage, your front row will be the ones you spend the rest of your life with." Jay Manthorn's definition of success slapped me hard. I will never forget that moment on the hot Georgia tarmac. Now, as I look upon my first rows, second, third, fourth, and beyond, I see that Jay Manthorn would be proud of me, and that means something. To those in my front rows, to my father that can't be here, to my avoa, and to each and every one of you here today, honestly, truly from my heart, thank you for helping me achieve success.
Thank you. Jeff. Now Ken